Welcome to Australia. We are the lucky country, so let's keep it that way.
Welcome back to another video. Based on the comments on previous shorts videos, people are fairly interested in one nation's policies that will be taken to the next 2028 federal election. So in this video, we're going to be reading through the One Nation immigration policy and have a bit of a conversation about the 10 core principles. Let us know in the comments what you think. So here is Pauline Hanson's immigration policy, immigration reform for a stronger Australia. She says Australia's immigration system is broken. Our population has surged past 27 million, overwhelming housing, infrastructure, and essential services. Wages are stagnating, home ownership is slipping out of reach, and Australians are being forced to compete with cheap foreign labour. I would highly agree with this. If we go back 120 years, in 1901, there was approximately 5 million people. In 2026, we have approximately 28 million people. That's an extra 23 million people that need homes, need infrastructure. We do need more resources. We need more land surface, more clearing more subdivisions to allow for more houses. And we need more construction workers to come in. So there is a lot of credibility to not slowing down migration, but prioritizing the right migration. So let's have a further look. So this must stop. Australia needs a common sense immigration policy that puts Australians first. This policy will, and there are 10 points to this policy, deport 75,000 illegal migrants because Australia's migration laws must be enforced, not ignored. Visa overstayers, illegal workers, and unlawful non-residents undermine national security, drive down wages, and take advantage of public services meant for Australians. I completely agree with this. We are the highest tax country in the OECD countries, in the developed worlds, first world countries. Why are we funding through our taxes illegal migrants? That money can be better put to putting roofs over people's heads. Cut immigration by over 570,000 people from current labour levels. By capping visas at 130,000 per year to ease pressure on housing, wages and infrastructure. I completely agree with that, although I think we need to start prioritising. There's 1,000 occupations in our country. 300 of those are on the national shortage list. And there's only 30% of the total migration that comes into the country at any given point in time prioritised on the national shortage list. We should be doubling that. We should be using migration to fill the national shortage list, and a much higher dedicated rate, like 40% or maybe even 30%, I suppose, of just construction workers, residential designers, building certifiers. Yes, we do need labourers. We need more carpenters, electricians, plumbers, etc. Everything that is able to build to keep up with the migration levels really should be prioritised, in my opinion. Stop the skilled visa rorting that allows cheap foreign labour to undercut Australian workers. We should be prioritising Australian workers, absolutely. They should get the number one priority. End the student visa loopholes that turn study into a backdoor to permanent residency or low-wage labour. Stop the administrative review tribunal being abused with endless weaponised appeals that clog the system and delay rightful deportations. Immigration enforcement must not be held hostage by legal loopholes. I do completely agree with that. If they are illegal migrants, they have done something wrong, they need to be deported. Then we really need to be looking at the loopholes about how they are gaining that momentum to stay here in this country, end up on the welfare system, and the taxpayers end up funding their lives. Moving on. Reintroduce temporary protection visas. Approve an effective policy that prevents permanent residency through the back door and deter illegal arrivals. I completely agree with this. If people need protection, I'm not against refugees or anything like that. But when it's safe to go back to the countries where they come from, they should be able to go back to their country, whether it be their country of birth or the country that they come from. They shouldn't be coming here as a refugee and then just becoming a permanent resident and citizen, because we see how that plays out, because they end up going into our parliament and then changing our Australian way of life. If they come here for humanitarian reasons, when it is safe to do so, they should be going back to where their country is. I think that's reasonable. Or We need more builders, construction workers to actually build the houses for more people. Because we have to prioritise Australian citizens. Deport any visa holder who breaks the law. Weak enforcement policies have put Australians in danger for too long. If you commit a crime, you lose your visa and the right to stay. I completely agree with this. As someone who does live in a sort of touristy environment, the only problems that we have had as an apartment complex are people that are tourists. They feel the need to climb over fences, climb into gated communities. Believe it or not, we've got them on camera, and steal people's bikes because they obviously don't want to pay for a bike and then leave it when they eventually go. But that is a major problem. So for the minority of tourists that come into this country and feel that they can do whatever they want, we should be cancelling their visa and sending them back out of the country because that's anti-Australian. If you're sort of from that era, and it wasn't too long ago, 25 years ago even, you could leave your houses unlocked. You could leave your doors unlocked. You never had to lock anything because people had respect. People never took. You could leave, you could go surfing, and everyone can sort of understand this if you're from that era. If you park your car at the beach, you don't lock the car. You wind your window down and you throw your keys in the back seat. You know your car's going to be there and you'd keep an eye out on your car from the surf. You wouldn't try that today and you'd definitely lose your car. But let's move on. Introduce an 8-year waiting period for citizenship and welfare, ensuring new arrivals contribute before they take. Completely agree with this. We're the highest taxed country in the OECD developed world, so to speak. We need to be keeping more of our money that we earn, but it's all going into people coming into the country, not contributing to our economy, and then sitting there on our welfare system, not contributing anything if they're not doing courses through TAFE, universities, other accredited sources. Then what are they doing? They're basically just sitting and taking from all of us that have to work or study, which I think is unfair. Refuse entry to migrants from nations known to foster extremist ideologies that are incompatible with Australian values and way of life. I completely agree with this. If you look at what a democracy has, and democracies have been around, for thousands of years, what is a democracy? Well, I've got, freedom of conscience, freedom of thought, freedom of belief, and used to freedom of speech. In this country, we're sort of going down the communist path, which I don't agree with. I think if people want to come into this country and they need to respect democracy and democratic values, and especially our Australian values and laid-back way of life. If I have my freedom of belief, so do you. But that doesn't mean that some ideologies determine that if you don't agree with their belief, then they execute you like we've seen in Bondi. So yes, completely agree with that principle. Withdraw from the UN Refugee Convention because Australia will not be dictated to by foreign organisations when deciding who we accept into our nation or humanitarian grounds. Completely agree. Every country has its own culture. Every state, every region, every suburb has different cultures. We should be deciding on the types of fit that come into our country and that fit our way of life. Because we want to maintain this, not just for our personal life, but for every future generation should be able to experience the Australian way of life, because it does have its own unique culture, and we don't want that destroyed. So Pauline concludes, it's time to take back control of our borders, protect Australian jobs, and ensure a future where Australians come first. I completely agree with these 10 principles of the migration policy. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What would you add? What would you subtract? Give us a like, a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. We'll go through all of her policies. Thanks.